Maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Well, welcome to GeoGearHeads, the show with most dancing you're going to find on a Thursday evening. You should have seen my legs going. I am Chris of the Northwest, along with our illustrious host, Daryl W4.
I think I'm more puzzled than illustrious right now.
Oh, puzzled.
Yes. I don't know that people want to see the legs dancing, and even if they did, you don't have a camera for them.
I should have a separate camera for below the waist. No, that did not come out right.
That's a wrong show.
Oh, that show's on Wednesday evening, folks.
Okay, but it is a randomized show, which, Chris, is your favorite type of show.
I love randomized shows. Thank you for doing one just for me, Daryl.
Well, it's not just for you. It's for all of our listeners, and we have a ton of listener feedback to go through this week. So we better jump into this pretty quickly. But stay with us because we're going to be drawing for 5 trackables tonight. 4 of those are going to GeoGearHeads, who sent in feedback for the show. So we've got, we've got a couple of the DuckTales trackables, a Captain Rodney's, and a Gift 2018 trackable going out to some lucky viewers tonight who actually wrote in. And if you're in the live chat, you even have the chance at a GeoGearHeads trackable. So we'll randomly select one of the folks in the live chat to get that. So make sure to stay with us through the end of the show for that announcement, and we'll give away those DuckTale tags, the Captain Rodney's tag, the GIF 2018 tag, and the GGH tag.
GGH, what could that be?
I don't know.
GeoGearHeads.
I was trying to come up with something more interesting, and it just wasn't. GGH just equals GeoGearHeads to me. I can't think of anything else.
Good golly, holler. Good golly, hello.
Okay.
That could be a fun morning show. Welcome to Good Golly, hello.
Well, what Limax is suggesting got great horses.
Ooh, I like that. I'm not much of a horse guy.
I'm not either.
Yeah. You know, my DuckTales tag, I handed it off at the event at Geo Woodstock. Yeah, Gigastock, thank you. And it just came back from Columbia, the country of, not the city in South Carolina.
Or the district of.
Or the district of, yeah. So it's got some miles. Where is it going next? Scandinavia.
Oh, wow.
With a chance of Antarctica in the new year. Gosh, gigantic hippos. Get global hummus.
I like the get global hummus. The wife is going to be into that one.
Okay. Oh, how funny. Okay. You know what? That is completely random. And I've got to stop looking at the chat because I want to keep reading. But there's emails that I want to start off with. And one of the things about these randomized shows is we get email questions from our faithful listeners, and you know, maybe it's something about a previous show, or they want help with a certain topic and to help understand it a little better. And that's what these randomized shows can really do, because we can just fit in a whole bunch of, well, get this, random topics. Huh, who knew? Randomized. This one comes from Gene Hunter. He said, there's a scuba earth cache for you, or here's a scuba earth cache for you. Carpata, GC 2 Quebec 84 kilo off the island of Bonaire, Dutch Caribbean. Although I no longer dive, my daughter has added this earth cache to her found list. How very cool.
Yeah, and that, of course, is in response to last week's scuba cache episode. So, hey, we at least know of 2 genuine earth caches that are scuba caches.
Yeah, I mean, not only scuba, but that would be a difficulty 5 earth cache.
Ooh, Tick Magnet was actually up at Power Island and 612, 2 of the oldest caches in Michigan last week. So, hey, congrats on getting those. Those are really, really cool caches, as I'm told. I haven't gotten either one, despite plans to do it.
Daryl,
Yeah.
here's the question I get asked a lot. How far are they from you?
I think Power Island was like a 4 or 5.5, 6-hour drive.
Okay, well, that gives you an excuse. Okay. If you were going to tell me they're within an hour, I was just going to hang up now and make you go get them.
No, when I was planning on doing it with Rock Chalk last year when I got sick, the plan was, and I had the hotel booked and paid for and everything. Went out there. We were going to get the hotel about an hour and a half outside of town, and then drive in that morning, and then drive back that night because it was a little too far for a full 1-day trip.
When you say an hour and a half outside of town, that's way outside of town.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother town.
It's a different town, but it's the one that has, a lot of hotel rooms that were available for not a lot of money.
Tick Magnet said it was a 3,154 mile round trip for him. So Daryl, it's a little closer for you.
It is. See, and if only I had a helicopter, everything would be so much easier, especially if it had the float skids.
Well, okay. So let's start a GoFundMe page for Daryl and his helicopter. Head on over to GoFundMe/DarylNeedsAHelicopter.com.
And the rotary aircraft lessons. We need to add that in too.
Nah. Yeah, helicopters are easy. You'll get them. Or not.
Hey, nice some people have told me that it's easier to do rotary than it is to do fixed wing.
It's the pedals controlling the pitch that
You got the pedals on the Cessnas and whatnot anyway to do your rudder control.
Oh, rudder.
Is it flaps? I thought it was rudder.
I think it's rudder, and flaps are stick.
Yeah, I don't remember. Wow.
Or just don't use them.
I was going to say it's been over a decade since I actually was looking into flying, and a lot of that information just seems to have vanished now.
Did you watch the national news and the little flight incident we had right in our neighborhood here?
Yes. And the guys at the office were really into it and listening to the recordings and stuff.
Yeah. So by all accounts, he should have flown right over my house.
Oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. So there you have it. If you didn't read, shall we say disgruntled? No, he wasn't disgruntled. He might have just been gruntled. Horizon Air employee stole an airplane, and it was doing loop-de-loops and barrel rolls, things that seasoned pilots were going, wow, I'm not sure that plane was designed to do that, and ended up crashing it on a remote island. There were no geocaches on the island, so it's safe. There's only like 12 people that live there. Anyway, speaking of
yes, definitely random.
We have more feedback, this time from the website from Sir Tom. He says, I have a thing for trackables, and I have sent a bunch of them out on missions. But how do you handle people just holding on to them, either not caching at all or ignoring the mission of the trackable? Well, Tom, I would go to their house and hunt them down. Give me my trackable back.
Yeah. There's really not a whole lot that you could do, to be honest. My thing is just messaging them, and hopefully you'll get a response. But a lot of the time, especially if it's people who are holding on to them, you won't get anything. But typically about a week to 2 weeks after they've grabbed it, if it hasn't moved, that's when I'll send them a note and say, hey, just a reminder that this is really wanting to move. And then after about a month, I'll do it again. And if it hasn't moved in a month, I just assume it's dead. Right. Yeah, it's gone. The bigger problem I've had, though, has been the people who grab them when they're on a mission and go and take them on trips and dip them in everywhere. And they're not anywhere close to what the mission is supposed to have been.
Yeah. And, I used to be a lot more forgiving when you didn't have data on the phone. It was hard to look up what the mission of the trackable is. Now, I think trackables have come quite a long way. Not only do we have a clear mission and an easy phone interface to see it. But I think people with truly want their trackables to go on a mission have a laminated tag or some other message, either in a Ziploc bag or something to that extent that tells you exactly what these trackables want to do. So I take, I'm not as forgiving as I used to be, and I wasn't that forgiving to start with.
And I'm actually more forgiving now because I'm finding that people just completely ignore missions altogether. They're not paying attention to it.
Right.
And the little laminated tags that used to be so prevalent, and I was a big proponent of those, they just don't seem to last anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They get separated from the trackable pretty quickly. If there is a mission, though, what I've done on a few occasions is when someone seems to be ignoring the mission, I've contacted them and said, hey, I know these mission sheets get lost quite frequently. Can I send you a PDF and have you print it and include it, if it is missing? And that kind of is a nice way to nudge them and hopefully get the trackable sheet updated in the package if it has gone missing.
Mm-hmm. The bad cop is back. That's what John says.
Just for trackables, though.
Just for trackables.
Just for track.
I would use the messenger. I would also email them just in case they don't have their messenger settings set up to email.
I thought the messenger actually did that by default.
I think it does, but I would do both just to make sure. And, hope for the best. By putting a trackable out there, it's a risk. It's a risk every time. And I wish it wasn't, but that's really the way it is in this game.
It is. And I've got so many more trackables that have gone missing over the years than I have trackables that survived. But there are some of those older trackables that are still out there traveling around. So knock on wood, they'll keep doing that.
Max says, I track my trackables with a trackable tracking tracker. But as silly as that is, and nice wordplay, what about a tile or some of these other location things? I know the batteries only last for about a year, but...
Well, the problem with most of those, and we actually tried that. Remember, we had the tile tracker I put out there as a travel bug. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
When the tile first launched, because I did the Kickstarter or whatever it was to get mine. So I put a trackable on it, sent it out there, put a little warning in there too that it has the tracker on it. It only got 2 hits before it died.
Really?
That was it. The trouble with the dial and tracker, and I can't remember the other one that is really popular. You have to have the app installed on the phone and the phone connected for it to call home. How many geocachers are going to have that?
Yeah, if there was a very popular device that a third of all phone users had already loaded on their phone, then great. But
I think Tracker is the largest of the networks, and the Tile has the largest number of devices, including a lot of third parties with the tracker built in. Like there was this silly umbrella that had the tracker or the Tile built into it, which is just astonishing to me. But there were suitcases that had it so that you could track your suitcases at the airport and hit the button and make them sound. So when they're on the carousel, they'd go bleep, bleep, bleep. And I think technically those are now illegal.
I go bleep, bleep, bleep when I don't find my bag on the carousel.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I don't use the carousel anymore. I only do carry-on.
Okay. Let's move on to the next bit from Sir Tom, though. I've seen people in my area who have logged over 1,000 caches in a day on the ET highway. Have you had a story about such a day in one of your previous episodes? If not, how does a day like that go? Do you even have to step out of your car to grab each cache? A crazy group of Canadians found over 350 caches in a day. That's the most I've seen.
So, well, that last note was from me.
Oh, sorry.
3 hams, Brylang, trying to think who else, Land Monkey, and one other, and I truly apologize that I don't remember who it is, went and found 350 caches on a power trail just south of the Tri-Cities here in Washington the day before the Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge. So, I mean, that's an incredible number. Now, Doramore, I don't think it was. I don't think she was there. But ET Highway, I have friends who have done the ET Highway, and you start at one end, and there is a repository of film canisters, and you take those with the logs in them, and I've seen it with 4 or 5 people in a car. You have a driver, you have a navigator, you have somebody who runs out and grabs the cache, and you have one person in the back that's stamping logs in those film canisters, and all they do is just swap film canisters.
Right.
So they're not even opening them up and signing them there. They just swap them and move on.
Yeah, it's a multi-person job, and I've heard of people getting somewhere around 600. I want to say it was like 620 of those caches in a day on the ET Highway. But I've also heard of people who actually took a van and did the ET Highway in one trip, and it took them like 36 hours straight through, I think they said. Yeah. It's been a while, and I couldn't find any of my notes on that one.
The advice given to me is, if you rent a minivan, make sure you get one that you can drive with the side door open.
They did this with a van, and they had a couple of people sleeping in the back.
Okay.
And the vans don't care as much about the doors, so.
That's true. The ET Highway, from what I've heard, you go out and you do it, and you take your car, your rental car, and you go get it detailed, because it is full of dust. It's just incredibly dusty out there. So it's not a quick and easy, let's just go do it. A single person can't crank out 1,000 caches in a day.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I knew someone who did the ET Highway when it wasn't quite as many caches as it is now. They got so burned out on caching, it was a good 5 or 6 months before they did their next cache. It's really, really tough. But there's a bunch of these power trails. I did one with some of the gang from Chicago, and we did, I think it was just over an hour, we did 100 caches. But again, it's a real group effort. This was out in West Bend. There's a bunch of these power trails out in West Bend. So last weekend was West Bend Cache Bash. If you haven't done that, I would recommend doing that, and try to spend more than a couple of days. That's all I've been able to do, is a couple of days, because they have some great caches and all of these power trails. So what you'll do is you'll spend the day on all of these great caches, and then go out at night or whatever and do a power trail or two. So you'll rack up 100 caches plus the really good ones that you've done in the day, so you don't get as burned out. And it becomes a real social activity to do those power trails like that.
And that's exactly it, Daryl. You hit the nail right on the head. It's a social activity. Yeah, it's a boring, monotonous, repeated effort. But you switch positions every so often, and you got to have a lot of water, and off you go. Tick Magnet says Mountain Bike has a fun YouTube video of their ET Highway adventure, and that's actually who I was talking about. So
okay. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun to try. I would not start with the ET Highway or any of the ones like that, because there are some others. Go for one of the shorter ones that's like 100 or 200, and cut your teeth on that. But you do need to have, I'd say, at least 3 people to make those work.
Yeah, and know that don't go with brand new people unless you're very outgoing. Go with a couple of good friends. And be able to have that time to reconnect and share stories and talk. So that's really what it's about. It's about the people.
Typically, the way that I've done the power trails is you have the driver who's looking at the GPS, and you don't even route to the next cache. You just pull them up. You zoom in tight enough that the caches are popping up, and you just see them as you get close. So you're driving on the shoulder or whatever, and just pull over and get it. You have the navigator-ish person who's actually taking care of logging. They're doing the field notes for everyone usually. and then sends that file around. And then you'll have someone who's doing nothing but signing and someone who's doing nothing but jump and swap the caches. That's how you get those numbers. But you can do it with 3 people. It's not that hard to log anymore, especially with like the templates from Cachely, CGeo, GeoLive, those kind of things. It's real easy to just go click, tap, logged.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, as the driver, I've actually done that a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's always nice to have multiple logs like that, so that if someone hit cancel instead of save, you confirm that you got it, and like Cachely keeps the timestamp, or Geosphere or whatever. And Geosphere is what I was using at the time, and that really, really helps to reconcile if someone's off on their counts. And then, send that single file to everyone, and then everyone's set. But I also recommend not live logging.
Right.
Because you will accidentally log twice or skip one or whatever. So, do it in offline mode and send those later.
Well, and out there, I think cell reception can be a bit spotty anyway. So,
definitely. Yeah. ET highway, you can't do that. I'm suggesting even like the smaller ones where they're
right.
Cell range.
Well, no, the aliens intercept the cell signals, so you can't do that.
Sure. But yeah, we've got the Outer Drive series out here. And the only problem that you'll have is some of the locals trying to steal your cell phone signal.
Excuse me?
No. This is not Pennsylvania's Geo Woodstock. They're not going to steal the equipment off the poles.
Okay, good. Whew.
Anyway,
GSM times 2 says it's an overnight multi-day social activity. That's the best time. And the Alien Inn set a new low in overnight accommodations. Yep. However, GSM times 2, what other choice do you have? You can sleep in your car.
Well, and I know a lot of the people who have done that, they don't really do more than, shower and get back on the road there.
Right.
It's take a nap, shower. You're there for a couple of hours, stocking up, fueling up, getting your dinner or whatever, and then you're back on the road.
Yep. And sorry, I lost what I was going to say, but the Geo Trail, the Power Trail, has really kept that business, the Little Alien Inn, in business. Otherwise, it would have closed by now. So geocaching is good for the economy.
Well, and it's really important for that to exist just because there's nothing else out there. It's the sole stop between, or in like, 14 hours of driving?
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Take extra fuel. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. Do not do this with an electric car.
Well, why not? Solar powered. There's a lot of sun out there.
Yeah, if solar powered would be good, but also remember, don't run the air conditioner
on a solar powered car.
Right.
Well, you're gonna have the door open, so you can't run the air conditioning. Okay, we might have to do a whole nother show about the ET highway.
Well, I'm thinking we need to do a show on power trails, doing power trails.
Yeah, there you go. But let's get back to completely random topics. Wait, did we get off of random topics?
I was going to say, when do we leave the random topics?
There's another email that came in. This one comes from Coon and Bud. And they start, GeoArt. Do you do maintenance as you geocache GeoArt? I carry spare logs and containers when I cache. My general rule is to replace a soggy log, a torn bag, replace a damaged container. When I replace the container, which is rare, I try to replace it with the same type. I have found that many geocachers use the same type of container when they place geocaches in a GeoArt series. A film can for a film can, a baby soda bottle for a baby soda bottle, bison for a bison, etc. The bison's tubes usually have just a maintenance issue, a torn or missing O-ring. I buy for just pennies O-rings of various sizes and have a special box for just O-rings I carry in my geocaching pack. I've met other geocachers while hunting these and found some do maintenance and others do not. I never hold up a geocacher while finding these. and have not even handed the geocacher a new log or log, if not soggy. I never hold up a geocacher while finding these, and have not even handed the geocacher a new log or an old log, as they may be geocaching at faster speed than I lost meaning there.
I think they're talking about they try not to hold up another geocacher as they're replacing he's replacing the log, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and this ties back into the power trails.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the geo art is very much like a power trail.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you have to do a little more work to get it. Others are not, and the geo art that I've done, very few of them have been that single container type. In many cases, the people who hide it really do try to put out some good caches, and other times it's just a matter of they've taken whatever they have that fits that location, put it there, and they're really struggling to find open spots in order to pull off their geo art. So it really is kind of hit and miss. But in general, I tend not to do maintenance on caches unless I know the CEO, the cache owner, and have gotten clearance from them. And there's some of the cache owners around here. If I go and tell G6, for instance, hey, I'm going to go hit your power trail on that rail trail. Oh, here, take a bunch of these, and if you see any of them missing, just replace them. Yeah, he's got the containers ready to go for replacing them. He's pretty good about replacing it, but when you've got something like a 40-mile rail trail, that's not easy to do.
That's, but Daryl, it's a really good idea to reach out to the cache owner first and say, hey, have you heard any, of your caches need maintenance? I'm going to be out there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And in many cases, they're fine with you just replacing it. If they'll even sometimes, like G6 does, have the containers available for you and provide them with just a blanket. If you find one missing, they're all easy, go and do it. I've also had some where they've asked me to message them on specific ones if I can't find it, and they'll give me a better clue. And if it's still not there, do it, because they will have like one or two that are trickier hides.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, as a general maintenance question, yeah, it's always nice to do the maintenance. I never remove a log without the permission, though. As far as replacing the wet logs. If it's a wet log, if it's a full log, I never remove it without permission, because there are a number of the cache owners who still want to go back and check those log sheets and make sure people signed them.
Well, okay. I will take them and tell the cache owner that I have them.
I'll do that for the cachers that I know, and even some that I fairly casually know. If I run into them with any frequency at events, I will take that log back and hand it to them the next time and try to dry it out or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you don't replace the log if you don't know the cache owner, and you don't trash the log unless it's just mush.
Right.
Which I've run into a bunch of those too. So next thing from Coon and Bud. Hello, I have another question about GeoArt. What is the perfect size, meaning numbers, of geocaches in GeoArt? My experience is about 40 to 50. I can usually find that in one day. I found GeoArt that contains over 150 geocaches. Recently, I had corrected coords to GeoArt that was over 300 geocaches, and I passed. I was simply worn out after finding a GeoArt of around 100 the day before. I've completed GeoArt of over 150, and it took more than one day and used up all my time in an area. I could not hunt all the virtuals, ECs, Earth caches, and favorited geocaches, the balance of the time in geocaches dilemma. So you want to take this one to start?
One.
That's not much of a GeoArt.
Well, no, but it looks like a little treasure chest, so that's art. No.
No.
I hate to use this, but it depends. Sometimes, 40 to 50 is a good number, but it depends over how large of an area it is.
I was just going to say it's really dependent to me on the terrain. You know, if it's on a single like bike path, then I don't see a problem with 100. That's something that you can easily do in a day. If it's 150 and it's like a single road or, you know, a nice loop with a power trail, that's fine. But like the Star Trek series I did was a lot of broken field running going back and forth into the neighborhoods. That at 60 took us more than a day, but we didn't have a full day to do it. So if we had dedicated a full day, we could have definitely done it in a day.
A lot of the geo art around here tends to be mystery because they put the geo art into the water. So they're mysteries. You have to go solve that. And, you know, they tend to be in a confined area, but not always.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, there are a few that are multis, but in most cases, GeoArt tends to be strictly the mystery caches.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a good point. If you're doing one of those mixed ones, you're much more limited in what you can do.
Right.
And part of the problem too with doing the GeoArt of any size is that limit of 2 miles. So the icon has to be within 2 miles of the final.
Right.
That makes it a lot more difficult to do GeoArt of larger sizes on a nice single straight road. So there's a definite limit there built into that 2 mile restriction.
Exactly. So, yeah, you know, I come back to it depends.
Yep.
And I don't want to use that answer. I want to have a definitive number, but I think we covered it.
Yeah, it's conditional. It's not straightforward, but I would be disappointed if we didn't have a variety as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to be able to do some of the ones that are like 20 to 30 caches. I want to do some that are in the, you know, sub 100 and then some that are bigger than that. And hopefully they're all answers that I can get without a whole lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Tick Magnet said the Wild Ride Geo Art in Wyoming has 420. I'm sure that's just a coincidence number.
And that one's actually set at the coordinates.
Ooh.
Traditionals. Wow.
Yeah, there's some out in Idaho in big open fields where they actually are at the coordinates. So,
yes, so that gets to be a lot more challenging then, because it's going to be usually longer distances to go.
Right. And with those in Idaho, they suggest, you know, using something like a 4x4 or a four-wheeler to go out and get them.
Yeah. All right, we got a big long email that came in.
Okay.
We're going to need people's help on this. So let everyone listen up because we need your feedback.
This is an email from Jersey Eric. It's Jersey Eric in Central Jersey. Huh, who knew? It's been a while since I contacted you, and I don't always listen to every episode, but I still enjoy the show. I have a question about GPX tracks and waypoints. I've been recording tracks on my Garmin eTrex 30 to calculate distance for potential trail signs to indicate hiking distances to destinations within and outside of a local park. I have a dilemma, and I hope you can suggest something. Let's say I've captured the GPX track, or its plural, tracks, for an 8-mile hike on my GPSR. I want to get the cumulative distance from the hike's starting point to a specific point on the hike. Let's say a footbridge on the hike that's roughly 3 miles from the start, but I can't determine that footbridge location visually when I import the track into any map. It's Google or OSM or whatever. I do, however, have the chords for the footbridge that I've captured separately from the track GPX file. Is there an internet site where I can upload the track's GPX file and a map in a map display, run through the recorded hike, viewing cumulative distance along the way, and also share a waypoint using manually entered chords or separate imported GPX file for the waypoint? I've tried gpsvisualizer.com from the browser, but can't figure out how to have it show the cumulative distance from the track's GPX when I move the mouse over the track at the point to the displayed waypoint. My current process or workaround is to import the GPSR produced track GPX file into the browser version of Map My Hike as a workout. The browser version has a nice replay feature to see cumulative distances and current altitudes as I run along the hike with my mouse. This track reply is not available with the free Android app of version of Map My Hike. My issues with the browser-based version of Map My Hike. One, sometimes the tracks sometimes the tracks import from a GPX file is problematic. Number two, while it has map options such as satellite, I can't always visually distinguish a destination along the track. Three, as far as I know, it doesn't allow me to plot a waypoint onto a track as a reference point. Ideally, I'd want to plot the waypoint using manually entered coords from an imported waypoint GPX file. Seeing the waypoint on a map display would allow me to see where along the track I would want to get the cumulative distance for the hike. If I could find a solution, then I could also determine the distance on a hike between locations during the hike, not just from the starting point. That would be great because the proposed trail signs are not just at the trailheads, but also along the hike.
So GSM times 2 in the chat is saying use Basecamp, which was one of my first things, but I'm not sure Basecamp actually does this anymore. I didn't have any tracks to play with, but I seem to remember you couldn't combine the tracks in Basecamp. So if you have the multiples, you were kind of hosed. If you have it in one, it could do it. But he's actually, Jersey Eric's actually asking specifically for something in the browser. And I know I had seen some of these. I can't find anything anymore. So it's entirely possible whatever these services were that I had seen have gone away. I seem to remember too, you could do something like this with Google Earth.
That's what I thought of.
Yeah, but I don't think it has the option to combine the track files. So it's one of those problems that you have to figure out how to combine those track files before you're going to be able to do much.
Yeah.
GSM times 2 is saying you can combine multiples and read the individual GPX files in Basecamp. So if Basecamp is an option, Jersey Eric, definitely try that. That's Windows and Mac OS, not the old apps for Android and iOS. Those don't work, and those are discontinued last I heard. So those don't work. Don't touch them.
No.
The old Garmin Connect website that's also gone used to do some of this as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never even tried anything like this, so I'm sorry. I would love to be a help, but I'm at a loss.
Yeah, this is not something we've talked about in a while, and we don't hear too many people wanting to do it.
Right.
There are some apps, I think, on the phones that will let you do this, but again, it's just not something we actually had an interest in pursuing till now. So if anyone knows of anything, again, he's specifically looking for the website, but if you have any other suggestions for Jersey Eric, something that would probably work from his Android phone would be possible as well. Let's get him some good ideas, and hopefully some GeoGearHead's going to know what's going on.
I'm thinking out loud. You've got a GPSR with you. When you take that, if you reset your track data, when you start your hike, you've got a cumulative distance you've covered. So you hit that bridge, you create a waypoint, you add a note to it that says,
well, he already says he has the, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, but the problem I think becomes when he's got these multiple track files, he's stopping the track because he's going off trail. or he's going down a different trail. So I think that's, that was why I had to come up with some reasons why you'd have multiple track files rather than just doing one. And that's where I was coming. If he's trying to do these for signs, it's likely that you've got multiple trails and he's trying to put together the tracks from multiple trips to get the distance to certain points. All right, next one is JR and Juju, who had something interesting, and we're going to have to get out of here pretty quick because it's already 40 minutes. But JR and Juju emailed, I saw this pop up for a location-based app called Rainworks, so I had to check it out. They are messages and art that appears when it rains. They are made with a special type of paint that only shows when wet. We live where we average a foot of rain a year, so our options are limited. But a message on a walk or walkway with the geocacher having to spray or throw water to get it to get the coordinates would be an option.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get a little bit more rain than a foot a year.
Saturday we got almost a foot of rain. It seemed.
Yeah.
Okay, so, maybe not, but
this might not work so well for you because it's always going to be visible.
Right. But I've seen these people have created, words, phrases. I kind of like, Chinese fortune cookie type phrases. And I want to say they use something that, like the hydrophobic spray paint that, water just doesn't stick to it. And a good example is, I believe it's the second National Treasure movie. When they were at Mount Rushmore, they had to pour water on the rocks, and you could see then that's what he's talking about. So yes, I've seen those in this area because it rains all the time. So yeah, just something hydrophobic would work.
Well, there's special stuff that geocachers have used as a special paint that is, I believe, brushed on, but they did that at going caching last year on one of the tools of the trade caches. The problem that they ran into is I think they were using like a paver. I'm a little fuzzy on it now, but there had been so much water poured on it that by the time we got there, it was completely invisible anyway. It had to dry out for a couple of days before it would work again. Because what I gather had happened is that paver that they used, it was so porous that it just absorbed all the water.
Sure.
So you have to make sure you're putting this stuff on a surface that's not going to sponge up the water and hang on to it like that.
Yeah. I think the product I used was called Never Wet. And I did a coat of mine with it, and it did okay. You see it just did okay. After a period of time, it would still get wet.
Yeah. It might be that as well. But in any case, for a low volume cache, it's probably going to work. Mm-hmm. But for a high volume cache, something at an event, I would think twice about trying it because it is something you're going to have to test. You're going to have to do some serious testing on the on the materials and surfaces before you actually go out there, live.
Right.
Now, White Coaster also emailed on something he found. I heard about the Over There app that uses GPS and virtual signs to assist the visually impaired navigate streets. It looks like individuals can create signs to add to the database. I wonder how this app can be used to assist the visually impaired geocache.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure I'd want to recommend something like this for visually impaired.
Well, why not?
Well, for caching, because you don't want someone who's visually impaired feeling their way around a lamp skirt.
Well,
I found too many yellow jackets and hornets nests and stuff like that I don't know that I'd feel comfortable with it. However, I think it's a cool concept. And it's not the only one that's tried this. They're doing a lot with the visual information to help navigate. Google's Project Tango is largely doing exactly that, but they're also using it for just mapping inside a store. So something like that could be an interesting, essentially augmented reality cache, where it's doing visual mapping since you can't get geolocation data, or at least not accurate geolocation data.
I'd still like to play with it. I mean,
Yeah,
it might
definitely.
be an interesting option for, say, a multi-cache, going out to, well, it's another app though, isn't it? So
yeah, well, I think the whole point of that West Coaster was trying to make is, could this be something to help geocache or people who are visually impaired to geocache?
Right. I agree with that. And I understand that, but
putting your own signs into the database, that could be your geocache, I think, is where he's going.
For virtuals, it would be great. Unless you have to take visual.
I was just going to say,
count how many benches are here.
For Earth caches and geocaches, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
But you'd have to be something where it's not telling me the color of this.
Exactly.
Although who knows, there might be some of those tools that would help them with that too. But we are getting long, and we have a after show to do for the patrons. So that's going to wrap up what we're sharing on this show, and then we've got some other not so much geocaching stuff we'll talk about in the after show for the patrons. Make sure to stick around for that. There's going to be another feed for you patrons that we'll post in about 13 minutes from now if you're watching live, and it will probably already be in your email if you're listening to this later. But we have to pick those prizes for those 5 different tags, and
I want to pick one. I want to pick the gift tag. That's the one I want. Thank you.
No, that's not the way it's going to work tonight.
Oh,
all right. But I just did a quick random draw on the chat room, so we'll do that at the end. First off is going to be those 2 ducktail tags. That's going to go to Gene Hunter and Jersey Eric. Congratulations, both of you, on that one. The Captain Rodney's tag, JR and Juju. The gift tag that you were asking for, Chris, that's going to Coon and Bud.
I'm going to have to go see if they'll give it to me. No, you guys keep it. Right. I'll find another one.
And then to the live chat, that GeoGearHeads tag goes to Bounce Bounce. So congratulations, all 5 of you. Make sure to email us at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com with your address so that we can get those out to you. Again, that's Gene Hunter, Jersey Eric, JR and Juju, Coon and Bud, and Bounce Bounce. Make sure to email us at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com.
Now, if you enjoyed tonight's show, stay tuned because there's a little more. But next week, we're going to talk Geodogs with GSM x2 and Stardust. Week after that, that would be August 30th. We are going to do another, I know they don't like it when I say this, cache tour with Plato Addict and R. Reagan. And that is such a great website. I'm loving that more and more. September 6th, we're talking going caching with Jim and Andy. September 13th, that's episode 350 for the people using the game at home. It's the AR experiment. We're talking with GCHQ about the AR caching experiment. And just so you know, we're doing the next randomize that's following the week of the 20th. So nice.
Check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Sufnauer and Daryl Weinberg. This show is copyright 2018 by Daryl Weinberg. All rights reserved.